Did post-graduation diploma in Java from NIIT for 6 months. Started his career in Expedia Group in 2014 and till present working there only. In the past 10 years, he has switched from one profile to another. List of designation he has passed: trainee operation and traffic analyst, operations and traffic analyst 1 and 2, customer experience analyst, senior operation and traffic analyst, software development engineer 1, 2 and 3. Did post-graduation in computer application from IIC, side-by-side working at Easy, Expedia Group. In a nutshell, worked on various technologies during his development journey: Python, TypeScript, React, and to some extent of Java. Got the opportunity to work on site in the United States and London so far. Let's express our gratitude for the star one. And now, without further delay, let's warmly welcome Sar. Thank you.
I know, like, from that time, like, the course has changed a lot, because at that time, like, we used to learn around like C#, .NET. Nowadays, like, I think like you guys are learning PHP and all, right? And what all languages are there? All advanced. Nice. So in actually in industry, these things are matters. So Python is currently there. Okay, TypeScript is there. JavaScript is also there. So you can say like the advanced version of JavaScript is TypeScript. Okay, so I work on the same. So TypeScript, React is one of the things. So for the front end part. So it is more of like advanced one of the JavaScript, and you get a good exposure over there. So we are actually developing like one of the tools that is there developed by Spotify. It's called Backstage. So we actually doing the development on top of it. We actually inherited from the same, and we are doing like on top of them the development part. So we developed our own tool over there for the Expedia Group, and we are currently monitoring over there like what is the like how is the application is performing. So one of the project that is currently I'm working on is like if in case an application is not able to like properly get some score. So we are doing some kind of like sanity check on top of it on each and every application. So if in case they aren't able to like run through those checks, and if in case they are failing any of the check, we are simply downgrading that application. And to do so, what happen is if in case they are not eligible to get like a good amount of score, they won't be able to deploy their code to production. So that means like whatever the code that they are writing, they won't be able to deploy it to production because like they don't have like they aren't able to achieve that much score over there. So today's presentation is more about like prototype and all. So prototype is just like whatever thing you're developing, you aren't actually doing directly the development. Firstly, you build certain things. Okay, a mini project over here. You can say like more like an MVP, like mean value product for the same. So you develop the same, and you try to like do all kind of like the analysis and all for the same. And once you do that, then you get like you actually ask your manager and all your seniors that okay, like, this is the thing, this is what I've developed so far, and how does it look like? Is it like worth to deploy to production or not? So accordingly, you will be able to like see over there all those things. So the point of discussions that we have, like what is prototype, the importance of the same, the prototyping concept itself, points for evaluating a prototype. So like what all things are there, what are points you have to consider in order to like evaluate like how is your prototype is, like whether your prototype is solid proof or it's just like a very basic one. The next thing is like what are the key steps for the same and advantages of creating a prototype. So you can't directly like develop something. You like your manager says okay, you have to develop something, and you can't do it directly like deploy it to production. Okay, you have to develop something so that like you can actually showcase them. Okay, like this is the thing, this is what we have so far. So yeah, so you have to define certain things over there. So okay, like this is the ER for the same, like entity relationship diagram for the same. and what will be the database that we're going to actually choose. So nowadays, like previously, like it used like MySQL and all. Nowadays we have like various databases like MongoDB is there, DynamoDB is there. So these kind of things are there. So and like companies are kind of like using those because that is like having a less cost in comparison to like MySQL and all. And those things are like AWS is providing. So AWS is like Amazon Web Services. This is one of the things which is currently like each and every company is kind of like using. So previously what was there is like team are having their own like proper servers deployed at some region. Okay, and that thing is like just like this thing, like the computers and all. So there are like multiple servers over there. So that is just adding an extra cost to the company. Okay, the thing is like because if in case they have to do the maintenance part for the same. So all those things kind of like are managed now, and AWS is actually providing all those things. So AWS is providing these things like they are providing like you can actually spin up you can say a system over there. We have like proper configuration over there, like CPU is there. You want like a CPU of like these many hertz and all, and RAM over there. What all memory you want to have. So all those things AWS is kind of providing that. And moving on to this thing, so those things you can use is a part of like key points for building the prototype. So you firstly decide, okay, like these are the things we're going to have. This is the like database we're going to choose, either MongoDB or DynamoDB, and number of resources we want to have from AWS, because each and everything is actually having a cost. You can't actually simply going to say that, okay, like I will be using like 3 CPUs for this project, but the requirement is actually only for 1 CPU. Okay. Each and everything is having a cost. So if in case you're going to add up like adding more and more instances or all those things, each and everything will be adding a cost to the company. And at the end, like each and every person or even your manager is going to like save some money from the same, right? They want to work on the same, and they want to see like how much very limited resources through which like we can actually build a product and can deliver it accordingly. So these are the things. So prototype is defined as the process of developing a working replication. So it's just like you will be developing a product. It's just like a replica, but not having much more features, but very less features over there. It offers a small scale facsimile for end product and is used for obtaining the customer feedback. So the thing is, like as I am like from Expedia, my company is more of like a product-based company. There are companies like service-based companies like TCS and all. So there you have like clients like Vodafone and all. Vodafone and the other clients are there. So they kind of like, okay, they tell you like this is the project we have. You have to develop something. So over there you have, so those are actually your customers, and you are actually developing the product for the same. So they give you some instructions, okay, like this is the thing we want. You will be developing on top of it, okay, like we will be actually having this thing over there. So you having a discussion with them for the same that, okay, like this would be the end like product for the same. So why it's important to actually use the prototype design and development. So when customers don't know the exact project requirement, so you don't have like the exact, because the thing is like when you are starting a project or something, in the beginning itself you don't know like what all things or what all enhancements will it be there for your project. So in that case, like you have to actually design a prototype, you have to design an MVP for the same, be it a very small, because there could be a chance that your whatever things you are developing, few of them might get changed in future as per the requirement. So that is what like it's required. And prototype of the end product is first developed. You develop it first, you test it, and then you refine it on the basis of the customer. So you develop something, you showcase it to your customer, and they provide you the feedback for the same. So development, then testing, like whether your product is actually compatible, or you can say like it's working as expected or not. So those kind of things is required. So the concept for the same is like firstly you go to like customer provide you the feedback. You use that feedback to either develop. So firstly to develop, like they give you the instructions, you develop it, and then you will do the testing part, and then you will go to customer. So now customer will give you the feedback for the same, like okay, like this thing I don't require and I don't want this. So you will refine those things, and again you will do the testing. So this is more like a cycle that will going to be there unless until like you have the end product there for the same. So the precondition sample and also before moving with the full scale like production. So the thing is like in the beginning itself you can't actually have much resources over there. You can't actually tell okay like these many folks will going to work. There could be a possibility that once you all land up into like organization and all, some company, they'll give you some product, they'll give you some okay like this is the thing you have to develop. So that will be there for you. You have to decide okay like this is the thing that I will do. So not all resources will going to work with you. You will be doing it all alone sometimes. So that way like you have to before like moving forward with the full scale production and all for the same, you have to have the preliminary vision or model of the product system so that you can test it, you can evaluate it. So these are the things that is considered for the same. So you design it, you have the functionality for the same, the visibility part, and requirement gathering and analysis. So this is one of the key steps for the same. Okay, initial step for designing the prototype model. In this case, users are asked about what they expect or what they want from the system. So you do the requirement part first. Then the next part is like quick designing and the building the prototype. So you will, once you have all those information for the same, you develop a prototype, you build a prototype on top of it, where you will going to like consider various other things like covering the basic designs of the requirement, through which like there will be a quick overview you can actually see and you can actually build on top of it. Keeps on doing like you will be doing it because like you have to just like validate your product and you have to keep your product always available. So advantages of prototype model is like reduce the risk of incorrect user requirement. You know that okay like your customer has provided you certain feedback. Okay, like this is what they are requiring for. You develop a prototype on top of it. They can't deny afterwards that okay like I didn't actually request it for the same. You can say that like you already mentioned it in your discussions earlier. We have prototype developed on top of it, so you can't deny from the same. So it is good where requirements are changing and uncommitted. So this is actually very much helpful at that time, like where you can see like the demands are in like changing a bit like more vigorously. The next part is like regular visible process aids management. So it actually like if in case whatever you do, you actually go and you refine it. You have a discussion with the team and all, with your managers and all, and then you refine all this. So that kind of like thing loop will be there, and that will actually going to help your product itself, because at the end that will matter, because you will be developing something, a part of it, and you can actually give up like request the feedback for the same from your manager. Then they will going to evaluate whether they will to see that okay like whether this thing is actually helpful or is actually doing like is right on the track or not. And then the next part is like supporting the early product marketing. So you will be able to like product so each and everything whatever you develop, you want some marketing on top of it, right? You want to know that you want to tell them okay like this is the product that we have developed. Because if in case that thing won't be getting noticed and all, that doesn't matter, right? You have to showcase something okay like this is the thing that we have developed, and you want to do some kind of marketing on top of it. So you do that. So it will also like reducing the maintenance cost. So it will going to reduce your cost for the same, because you already have the prototype developed where you know that okay this is the thing that we have developed, this is the database that we have chosen, and this amount of like database thing is okay for us. We don't require like much more resources. The limited resources is fine for us. So that will actually end up going to like reducing the maintenance cost for the same, and as well as the errors can be detected much earlier, and the system is made better with it. So whatever things that you're going to do, you are actually developing it, and you are kind of like doing some kind of error handling on top of it. So error handling is one of the key things that you have to do. Okay, so whatever code that you write, try to add more and more like exception handling. Okay, why is because when So you don't know that how the system is going to perform. You are writing something, you are doing some code part, and then you kind of like some error occurred. You actually didn't think of, okay, like this could be a possibility that this error could appear. You don't know. But when you are doing the exception handling part, you will be able to properly track that thing. You will be having a stack trace from the same, and once you have the stack trace, you can actually do like see over there like whether that error is kind of like how you will be able to handle it. So most of the errors are properly getting handled, and you can actually do it very good. So the next part is the prototype development. So it is defined as a rapid development phase for iterating and testing. Oftentimes, prototype is created as simplified version. So it is just like a simplified version of your product or of your end product. Okay, and that is going to actually give you some kind of like view that, okay, like this is what we're going to commit and we're going to provide at the end. So it is one of the great way to get the stakeholders on board. So and with the new projects and existing projects without making costly upfront investment. So you will be able to like tell them, you'll be having a direct sync with your existing customers and all side by side, like once in a week or more than that. Okay, and at the end you will be able to develop it properly, and that will actually going to reduce the cost, because at the end, if in case you're going to say that like, okay, like my product is like I've completed my product and then you deliver it, and then the customer says that, okay, like these changes, I want some changes over there. So that will actually end up like taking your time, as well as like you will be actually consuming your time more to that thing. And so this is why like it's very much beneficial to have a sync properly for the same. And priorities being the same: ability to rapidly iterate, receive the feedback, and keep the cost relatively low. So production development. So one of the key thing is like once you develop the prototype, then you have to see that, okay, like okay, and you are at the end stage of like prototype development. You have to do the production development. You want your product to be live in production. So for that, you will have to actually see like whether your prototype is actually good or not. So assuming everything went well with your prototype, and you got the proof that you need to move forward and fully test it in the project. So you will have to do like you will have to start doing the production development and all. And production itself has its own kind of like unique priorities and practices. So there are like certain things like in prototype you won't be sometimes it happens like you are not actually testing it on a full traffic. So whatever traffic that is coming to your site or something, you are not actually building a prototype on top of it, and you aren't actually handling the whole traffic. So once your product is actually live in production, you will be able to see that, okay, like how your product itself is kind of performing on the basis of the traffic that is actually coming to your site. So production priorities are these. Firstly, the primary application, like primary priority for your production application is creating a consistent experience for the end users. You will have to look over there like whether your product, whatever the product you are actually developing, is having a good customer experience or not. So you can't actually develop a site like based on the HTML and all, okay, just for the HTML, and some clicks are not working and all. You will have to see that whether the product that you are actually going to deliver them is foolproof and it's working as expected. So, and over there, like even a small bug, like some like you aren't able to like handle properly an exception that has caused something on the live side. So that will going to like let your product itself down. Okay, like in my company and all. So in Expedia, like we have the website, online website, travel website. If any team is unable to handle certain kind of like exceptions over there, at the time what is going to happen is customer will not be able to book their thing on our site. If in case they won't be able to book, they won't come back. If in case they won't come back, then we will be having less customers over there, and our site performance, site reliability will be less. So we don't want that. We want like whatever the things that are there, we want to fix it as soon as possible, as soon as we detect it, or we at the time of testing part and all those things. So those things you have to consider. You have to see consider all the end users, what devices they will be using, you will have to see like you can't actually develop certain things, your code on the basis of like certain extensions. So you develop something on the basis of the Chrome. Okay, like whatever things you do, you're saying that okay, like on Chrome this will going to work as expected. There are certain users that are going to use Safari or Firefox and all. So how that thing, your code will going to work. So you don't have to like be very much like browser specific. You have to have the code something like which will be working on all, because there are certain things which are working like which are workable on Chrome, and there are certain things which aren't over there, or like those things aren't workable on Safari. So you have to actually develop a common thing that is going to be workable on both. So all those things you have to see like in what environment and settings will the app be used. You have to see that as well. So you have to like have a careful consideration of both the general and the edge cases. So there are certain things like you might have like certain cases like edge cases that you might have it like think of it earlier at the time of like prototype development and all. So though there are certain scenarios that you have to like do the development work as soon as possible, because your product is already live in production. So you want to do something, you have to be very much quick over there. There are certain edge cases that you have to consider that okay, like this thing we haven't thought of earlier but has appeared now. So now we have to think of it, we have to see how we're going to fix it. So those things you have to see, and there are certain things like there are edge cases will help you harden the application for all users and avoid releasing potentially embarrassing bugs. So there are like bugs are there. You don't want like, your site to be like a bug one. So your site is not performing well over there, and it keeps on crashing. So you don't want that. You want to handle it properly. So you have to consider all those things at the time of development. So one of the key things is like performance, like is by like when you're actually having much more traffic to your site. Okay, you develop your website like okay, like your prototype was working seamlessly fine with like in your 6 months of testing, because you weren't testing it with the full traffic over there. Like you are expecting only like 1,000 calls and all, and you're saying that okay, like my product is working as expected. But when your your product will go live, and what will gonna happen is like 1 million users will going to actually start clicking or going to your website. Whether your website will going to crash or whether your website will going to handle it properly. So you have to set certain like rate limiting as well as over there. So you have to see that okay, like these many requests I can actually like cater and I can actually work upon for this specific time frame. So there are certain things like even like we have recently developed in one of our project, like we are calling a GitHub API. So GitHub is one of the place where your repository is. You heard of GitHub? Yeah. So over there like repositories are there, like so your application like the code actually lies over there. Okay. So we kind of like got to know that like we were developing a product. We are actually hitting the GitHub API, and we are doing it like for like 23,000 applications we have. So we are developing, we are doing on top of it the same. So then we realize something that like the response from the GitHub API is kind of like getting restricted, or you can say like at certain time like it didn't work. So then we found out like okay, like GitHub can only be able to like work upon 10,000 requests in 15 minutes. If in case you're going to give more requests to them for a token, then it will going to work. Expected cases, but also the unexpected one. Make sure your application is scalable and performant under extreme scenarios is a priority in production environment, because you want to see that like whether your product, like once your product is in production, there can be like traffic like on a certain day there can be like many customers are coming to your site. On weekend or something like you will be having less traffic. So you have to consider each and everything over there. So different type of testing that we have unit testing, where you do like low level and close to the source of the application. So you actually so in this unit testing what you want to do is you are going to mock. Mocking means like you aren't actually, so there are certain things like where you want to test like the connectivity with your database, DynamoDB and all. So when you doing a testing on locally and all, you don't want to like connect to the database itself. You don't want to establish a connection, but you want to see that whatever the code that you are actually writing is going to perform similarly, seamlessly and without any issues. So you're going to mock the data. So by mocking, you means like you will be mocking the connection. Okay, like this is how the connection will be, and you will be seeing that okay, like this is we going to like put the item. You will going to use the put item over there, the function, one of the functionality in the DynamoDB. You're going to see that okay, like this is the response we're going to get whenever like we're going to put something to the DynamoDB. So that kind of thing you will be doing it on the basis of the mocking. So that is one of the things in the unit testing. Testing the individual methods, functions of the classes, components, or the modules. So you will going to test each and everything for the same. So there are like this is like the example that I gave you is for the DynamoDB part and all. So there are certain things like where you will be actually calling the API. You see that whether this thing is working as expected or not. Integration testing. So what is actually the integration testing means? So verify that different modules. So you have like you have certain code in one function, like in one class. You have certain function in the another class. You want to see that both the classes, when you are going to use it, whether those things will be working as expected or not. So verify that different modules or services used by your application will going to work together or not. So example for this thing is testing the interaction with the database or making sure your microservices works together as expected. The next part is the functional testing. So where you will to focus on like business requirements of an application, and you're going to verify the output of an action and do not check the intermediate states of system while performing that action. So you have to consider all these things. So these kind of like testing you can perform. Mostly, I think like unit testing is one of the key things that you are going to perform it in your code. Okay. Was it boring this session? I couldn't see like I was seeing like few of the faces are like are either on their phone or something. What's happening? So let's do a session like exercise session for this. I want involvement of each and everyone. Okay, you can do it in group. Be it in group like so. This is the one of the things that you have to do. So consider you are working in an online travel company. Okay, where you need to come up with certain cool features and all you want to actually showcase on the site, and you will help the customers while doing the booking. So think of the steps of building a prototype for the same. Like what all things you can actually want that will be there in the in your website, and what will be your focus areas and how you think will that be useful for your end customer. So this is a small exercise I'm giving you. So you guys can actually do like in a group. You want to have a discussion like but with the same same group. Okay. Right. Whatever the feature that you are developing, you can roll it out and provide the continuous support for the same. So during your this thing, like when you rolled out, you see that whether your product itself is kind of like working, it like behaving as expected or not. So you will like provide the support from the same. So by support, you mean like you will be getting like the feedback from the same, from the users, that okay, like your website is kind of like having this feature and all. So you can actually develop certain things. So there are certain things. So the thing is, you are in an organization. So there are like a couple of mindsets that are there. They are going to tell you, okay, like this thing you can develop, this thing you can develop. But a good judgment can actually do by a customer. So customer can actually provide you more insights for the same that okay, this thing I actually saw in some certain site website and all, but this thing you can actually develop. It is pretty cool. So those are actually the actual feedback from the customers that you can actually apply upon, and you can do all those things. So apply some monitoring on top of it. So whatever thing that you are developing, you kind of like create a dashboard on top of it, like what is the total time of all the things, whatever the functionality that you have got, what is the total time it actually took to fetch it, to showcase it, and to store it into the database now. So you have to see all those things, you have to monitor it, like whether you are actually having a proper throttle or not. So CPU throttling is one of the things that you have to see, that whether once you are actually using some kind of like functionality like CPU requests and all. So whether that many requests, whether that many CPUs consumption is actually working in a proper way or not, or there is some kind of like throttling over there. So you have to see it. You have to actually monitor all those things. You have to see like how many errors are there. You are kind of like making it the dashboard on top of the errors and all. So all those things you will be doing, and you will be able to debug it properly. Where like when the user got stuck while doing the booking. So there are certain like we have some kind of like tools are there. A tool is called like TLeaf is there. TLeaf is some kind of like recording a session for a customer. So whatever you do, the whole session of the customer gets recorded, and when the same gets recorded, you can actually view to that session itself. You can see where customer actually got the error. So you can try fixing that thing. So these things you have to consider, and once you do that, yeah, that will be a good product afterwards. So thank you. So this is my email ID and my LinkedIn profile. In case anybody wants to contact me, you can do it by the same. Okay, I'll give like, so if in case anyone is interested after because you are in the first year itself. So after third year, you want to see that if in case you want to work in Expedia or something, okay, just give me a shout on my email or my LinkedIn profile. And if in case there will be any JD and all, I'll be sharing the same with the placement coordinator over there.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. I would like to thank you for the workshop on prototype design and development. Thank you to the audience. Thank you very much.
जो भी लाइक वेबसाइट का फोटोज और सब होना चाहिए एकदम अपडेटेड और क्लीन लाइक we can have the updated photos and all, like managing digital traffic. It could be like when most of the traffic comes on the Saturday, Sunday, like people are free on weekdays and like they are hoping for their weekends and all. Interface easy होना चाहिए, like we must have easy to use interface so that no one can charges and like other things, so that they could easily find their bookings and all. And one of the things that we can add, like we can share the experience of our customers, like who have like I'm a customer of a website from this website. So like I can share my customers and photos on the website, and the website portal can see them my like see my reviews, feedback to the other customers, that what you should do, what you should not do. The other customers
will already be there. Company is already built it, right?
Yeah,
They are already built it. So whatever the enhancement thing you have to do, you have to build that.
enhancement, yes, enhancement. You can have like
Okay, think of it. Let's go with you guys.